Ja, herzlich willkommen zu Business and Books. Heute lernst du Agnieszka Gaczkowska kennen. Sie ist Unternehmerin hinter Oplotki, einem Label, das eine ganze Welt rund um das Thema Handmade aufmacht und damit vor allem im polnischen und englischsprachigen Raum sehr erfolgreich ist. Deswegen ist auch das Interview gleich auf Englisch. This interview will be in English. Wir haben uns auf einem Business Retreat unserer Business Mentorin Sigrun kennengelernt, die zu dem Zeitpunkt gerade dabei war oder kurz davor, ihr erstes Buch zu veröffentlichen. Und so war das Thema omnipräsent. Also ich wusste sehr schnell, dass auch Agnieszka eines veröffentlicht hat. Und genau darüber spreche ich heute mit ihr. So, welcome, Agnieszka Gaczkowska, architect with a soft spot for handmade, who founded Oplotki.pl, Polish crafting community and a thriving business based on crafting online workshops for both individuals and corporate. Altogether with her team, she proves we can all benefit from using handmade as a tool to consciously lock out from the passing world and practice this mind yoga on daily basis. So Oplotki, in fact, with positivity through podcast, YouTube and blog, IG, FB and Pinterest, bringing together all the people around the globe to an informal conversation, held in Polish and English, over various crafting techniques. The idea behind Agnieszka's work was captured in a TEDx Warsaw women's speech, Handmade, Product or a Process, and her journey in a book, Oplotki, Sukces Handmade. So, welcome, Agnieszka. I'm so happy to speak to you today.
Catch up after seeing live. Now we're back on Zoom.
Yes. From offline to online again. So I introduced you already with what you do, that you are in the handmade business, a very huge and great business that you have. And I think it's very interesting to get to know your story behind it. So maybe you can tell us, how did you come to your handmade topic? What was your way to this area?
Yeah, thank you for this question, because to me it's a story of, having a business that is more of your heart rather than of your head. I loved handmade since I was a little. I played with dolls and created their houses. I redesigned the place and crocheted and knitted and did some sewing and, creating space. That's what I always loved doing, but it was always with my hand. And handmade was second breathing at my place. My grandpa did it, my grandma did it, my parents, everybody knew how to do something with their hands, fixing shoes, sewing, creating clothes and everything. So to me, that was so natural. And what I figured, okay, if I love doing the space, I should be an architect. And that was the journey I pursued, because I wanted to create a space around me, right? And yeah, I became an architect. I had my own studio. I was really satisfied with the money, with the career, right? Breaking the glass, then this glass ceiling, right? Running around in fancy shoes around the building site. But then when I became mom, it became really hard to be architect as well as mom. It was really hard to do it both. And that was the moment when I actually realized, I really want to be a conscious mom, present mom. I don't want to just see my kids in the evening and then say goodnight, right? So I kind of paused with the architecture, even though I loved this job. Mm-hmm. And only then I realized, when I had that pause at home with kids, that I could go back to all things crafty that led me to architecture, all the knitting, all the sewing, all the, designing space around me with things that you can do with your hands. I realized there's so many things I'm missing that actually come from my heart, come to me naturally, that I love doing. And there was also this aspect of, having a pause in your career, from this point where you earn a lot, you're this fancy lady with, bossing around the guys, around building site, to the point where you're this mommy at home and your self-worth drops down to, depression, and being at home with kids, that's the only thing that defines you. I discovered that I'm not the only one that feels the same way. Being a professional and at the same time feeling that you're worthless. There was this feeling, this icky feeling in my heart. And when I started crocheting, knitting, and I found friends that wanted to do that. I was amazed that they cannot do it. I thought everybody can do that, right? I started teaching them, and it quickly became like workshops, like ordinary workshops where I taught others how to do that. And the topic of feeling unworthy of, being yourself, following your track, and like wanting to have it all, like the business, being a mom, being a partner, like having a private life. I saw that there's this magic within those workshops where we meet to do some crafting, do some handmade, the thing that I love and really love teaching. But at the same time, there was this space, the safe space to talk about entrepreneurship, about redefining our professional path, our career. At the same time, we observed how the world is changing. It's no longer, you're a business lady or a mom. You want it both. You want to have this balance in your life, right? And I discovered that those workshops is something more than I ever dreamt of while being an architect. I don't want to make it sound that architecture is bad. I was really like fulfilled in that job, but I felt that first time in my life, I feel that I make a difference, like by those workshops, but by creating this space where women, let's be honest, there were major women. I realized that I create a safe space where we can talk about our like deep needs, values, dreams. Oftentimes during those, crafting workshops where we just like create a scarf or a cup for our kids, we made those important life decisions about our career. How do we want to shift in our life? How do we want to pivot maybe professionally? Sometimes there were decisions about, ending a relationship or things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a huge power in this, century long, tradition of just meeting along something that we do with our hands and just simply talking to people that we would never probably meet otherwise. But we just met because we did allow to have some space and time for, chill out, for simple talk, for doing something crafty, following our, need for creativity. And to me, that was this very beginning of Oplotki, because it all started with those workshops. And later on, when I saw the magic, the power of those meetings, I did everything to make it work, to make more of them. So I scaled it through having more and more friends, working with other techniques, like handmade techniques, doing workshops like me. So that was like scaling when it comes to quantity. But then also I invested a lot in this online business, this online MBA where we met through our mentor Sigrun. And I invested a lot to have this, online handle to also convey the message of those workshops through online. And who would have thought? Now I end up after a couple of years later where I sit over, like I lead a handmade corporate where we're laughing that it's such a big organization now, such a huge community. We operate on Polish market, but also sometimes we do those workshops in English. So we see that there's more and more people like joining along those crafting workshops because there's this universal language of just being together, sharing thoughts, like exchanging ideas over some crafty projects.
Yes, and you do so, I would call it art, pieces of art. There, I saw some things you did with your hands for Sigrun, and they are so beautiful. And I also saw your book.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm very interested in. Yes. So can you tell us more about this book? I think this is also very beautiful how it looks, but it's Polish, right?
Yeah. I'm so proud of it because, it was such a huge statement. Yeah, actually, I have a Kickstarter as well. Those are two books where I'm mentioned or I have something to say. But yeah, really, this book, it's like a piece of art to me as well, because it's not only it's a baby, your first.
Yes.
You can touch it and you still cannot believe that it's really happening. But to me, it was also this manifesto because the process of publishing it, that was self-publishing plus crowdfunding campaign. So basically our community founded the book, right? So we did have the funds from our community. They said yes, and that's why it came to life. But thanks to self-publishing, I could decide on every single like little detail within the book. And to me, I really wanted it to be a manifesto, because the things we do, the crafting community and the idea behind our company, it's all about this importance of the process, like handmade process, because I claim that it's even more important than those pieces of art that we create. So just like the things we create, like handmade, scarf or handmade cup or anything we do during workshops, the same is with the book. It's just this artifact that you can hold in your hand, but the process of its creation, that's where the magic happened. And because you lead people through the process of creating a book, it's this very first moment where you have the idea. Then there is this gathering of tools, right? What do you need to learn? How do you even approach the topic? Who's gonna be your mentor? Who's gonna help you along the way? Then you've got all bunch of pitfalls of the things you do maybe not really well, you're not proud of, and then you get up from this pitfall, and then you start all over. And to me, this book was this this metaphor of how the handmade process operates. For me, when we're so grown-ups, we forget how it is to fall down, and it's okay to make mistakes and then get up again and try again, and treat those mistakes not as mistakes, but as trials and errors, like prototypes of the actions we want to take. And I remember that it was the same with the book. I imagined the book like with hardcover. And then you hear that it's like the paper crisis because it's COVID and you cannot do it because it's going to be 4 times more expensive. But then we say, no, we want to make it, raise something tangible that you hold in your hand and you can, have it like really firmly in your hand. So our designer is doing it all over and all over again.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
And even the metaphors inside, they have those connotations to handmade work. Even the numbers of pages, they are like this yarn ball. So the very design to have this yarn ball like working throughout the book, like unfolding and folding, those were those little accents from handmade world that we could smuggle into the book as a physical like tangible proof that it's so connected to this handmade process.
Yeah, and so the main idea behind this book was to write a manifest about handmade.
Exactly. So the idea was first of all, to tell all those people that are connected to handmade work and handmade industry that it is legitimate work. Like it's still treated, this industry is still treated like, oh, you're working in handmade. So we dropped architecture for handmade, so people just like smirk around, right, when they hear that. So to me, that was this manifesto to show, okay, now I'm going to show you how I've built a 7-figure business from scratch in a couple of years, right? So it's like, then people like open up their eyes and they're like, okay, and now I'm listening, right? But at the other level, the manifesto was about the fact that we no longer operate in separate realms of, career and private life. That was me in architecture. Like I was the architect and like run the building site. And then I was mom at home, and either one of those suffered. Like I was either there or here. Whereas in Oplotki, I'm this holistic person. Like I created this work because I wanted to show my kids that you can follow your passion, the things that come naturally for you and you love them. And I built a thriving business on that, and I hire people. So in that book, I really wanted to write how it all happened, how it all started, and share what were the little, tiny decisions you make along the way, where you're no longer compromising your values, your, most important things in your life, where I needed to choose between kids and, career, and where I said, okay, no, I don't want to choose. I want to have it both. So how do I do that, right? And that's the story of building this organization from scratch up to the moment right now, where we're post-pandemic times, and this organization like really blew up. The online part of our business really like blew up in pandemic. But there's this another layer of just telling a story, like from a woman to another woman. Like, how do we work with the mindset of a mom where your self-confidence drops, and maybe that's not the best time to, you know, start a new business from scratch, right?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to share it like open-heartedly, because we already have presence, like online presence, like we do the podcast, we do the YouTube channel, the Facebook, the Instagram, the Pinterest, but everywhere we have this convention, like you have nice photos or, you know, catchy phrases, lots of copywriting. But I really wanted to share my story, like honestly, with all the downfalls, to make it really raw and real. So that was this manifesto, that the book can be like that. Yeah.
Amazing. It sounds so good. I would love to learn Polish for it so I can read it.
English version. You know, it's so funny because I planned the book to be in Polish and English at the same time. I wanted to publish it in 2 languages, especially that I operate in, you know, international communities. A lot of people that supported me, and, you know, ladies from masterminds that cheered me to do the project. I really want them to read the book, like, because they were such a huge part of this process, like pushing me to actually do that, right? To do that. But, you know, when I translated the book, I realized that it will not be such a valuable piece of read for English-speaking person. There's so much of Polish-specific mindset. We have something about, you know, motherhood, which is like really Polish-specific for our culture. And there's so many things that I perceived that I needed to work through, that sociological, religious, all those, you know, blogs that I had. I realized that they are culture-based, like Polish culture-based, that I realized that it won't be such a valuable piece of read for people from outside our cultural line. But I did translate it, and I realized that it's just a basis for something more, that there's meant to be like part 2, which is international.
Yes.
It will take a lot of work to distill this universal message. So I said, okay, I really want to make it as epic experience for English-speaking readers as it is for Polish-speaking readers. And I know, because I get those, you know, feedback, and I really feel that that's the right thing to do. So yeah, it's going to be the second verse, Fania.
Okay, yes, I'm looking forward. I will watch you. So maybe can you tell us and or me and the audience, how do you use this book for your business? So in which state did you publish it, and how do you use it now for your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, the book actually, I think it should have happened much earlier. Like, that would be wise to do it earlier. And I'll tell you why. But now I'm at this stage where the book was always on my dream list. And I guess you meet this kind of approach with your clients, that you do not feel worthy of writing a book. Who am I to write a book? Like, why would my story or anything I want to write about be valuable enough for people to read? And it's so like women, it's like us, we have that weird thing in our head. And I also had that, like, I always knew I had a message to tell. Like, when I discovered the meaning of those workshops, the magic that happens there, the, you know, the masterminding, the support that women get there, like among each other and give each other. It's not that only me, it's like it happens like magically in those gatherings. I knew I want to write about it, like from day one, but I never dared to do that. I didn't feel worthy enough to tell whole world that I discovered this magical tool that is actually could be created for free. You just meet and you just talk and you do something together and magic happens. So I published a book at the moment in my business where I felt I have it all. Like, I had the business, it's earning like decent money. I hire people, so I have people like, you know, graphic designer, a copywriter, somebody that could support me along the everyday maintenance of the business, so I can kind of cut myself out and make some time for actually sitting and writing that. And in my head, it was this, okay, you need to go to secluded place for 3 months and sit and, you know, stare at the sea and write inspired book, right? Nothing, you know, far from the truth. Like, I actually wrote the book in the middle of COVID with 3 kids at home in a small apartment in city of Poznan, like really 60 square meters for, 5 people is way too little. Now we're in a bigger one. But, then when I was writing that was the worst time ever when I look at it. Like kids at home, homeschooling, because everything was on lockdown. My husband working in another room, me working in a, dining room, and the kids running around. And I did write it in like 3 weeks. Like it just like poured out of me. So, and for me, the trigger to write the book was actually somebody that gave me permission. And that's a person, like I could compare her to you. Like that's like a book writing coach here in Poland. She didn't actually coach me. We have this relationship because in our workshop place, she was doing her launch of her book. And that's how I met her. And when we had like a random talk, she came to one of the workshops, and that just proves the point of magic of those workshops. She was sitting there, and she, with her authority to me, she's like this authority around books. She was like listening to my story, like I was sharing how it started and just like, telling the book basically. And she was like, my God, you should write a book about it. Like you have a beautiful book sitting in your head. Like it has to go viral, right?
Yeah.
Now I know that I needed this permission, like from her, this validation, like this person that told me it's a story that is worth telling. So that's why I shared that, because, I wrote the book at the point in my business where I was like, I have everything. I could go for 3 months to stick with the plates and all of that, blah, blah, blah. But in fact, I wrote it at home in 3 weeks, but I just needed this mindset permission. So I guess that's also something that you're giving through those talks, through the talk we're having, that if you have a story to tell, there's nobody stopping you. It's just you stopping you by not doing that. But answering your question, like now at the point in my business, I see, that's why I told at the beginning, it should have come really earlier. Because I see how much work the book is doing in my business. On this marketing level, I see that, it's not only person buying the book and reading it, it's also everybody that she's sharing the book, and I've got no control over that. Those are not, people sitting on my email list. Those are like friends from her friends and her mom and her mom's friends, like, because the book is like going around viral, and I have people emailing me that I never saw on my list or my channels, and they're just writing to me, I wrote your story, like it's so inspiring. Where can I buy a product from you? Where can I buy your program? Like, what are your programs? Like, they don't even care. They just want to work with me. So on this marketing level, like sharing wholeheartedly the story made such a huge shift. But also at this level of like me writing the book and being a witness of this magical process that is happening. Like I work a lot with coaches, like self-growth is my thing, like that's my junkie. I'm a self-growth junkie. But the thing that did the process of writing the book to me, when it comes to self-growth, like self-realization, making important decision in the business, like pivoting and really being clear about what's our mission, that book should have come like 3 years, at least 3 years earlier. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. These are such great stories you tell about all around the book. And is there one special story you associate with your book, something that happened when you published it? Just one where you say that was very special.
There is this story that is actually also in a book, and the book starts at the playground where I'm like pregnant with first kid. Actually, there was like the first kid is already on the playground, and I'm pregnant with second. And everybody's like talking, and I'm doing everything, and I'm so responsible for those kids. And Jacek is at work, and I feel that like the whole world is crumbling because I just dropped architecture, and I'm just this mommy, and everything that defines me is just like, did I make the dinner, or like change the diaper, or like everything like that, right? And then the book finishes at the playground where at the same playground, I have a child number 3, but the situation is totally different. I'm actually coming back from, doing a webinar, like in a fancy dress and like looking really cool. And Jacek is there on the playground, and he's doing all the diaper stuff. And it's like this definition of a process not that something magically happened and UFO came and changed my life. It's just what changed in my head, that I was able to like create a totally different environment for myself in order to grow as a businesswoman, but also being able to, you know, finish webinar and then just go to this playground to be with them. Like, so that was the story in the book, but also outside the book. It was so funny because writing the book and then publishing the book was such a long process, like 1 year long. I saw myself growing into that. And it was also like Jacek is like playing with the kids, and I'm having a call with a graphic designer because I really want that cover to be like, this detail has to be like that, blah, blah. And then I go to this playground and I meet them there. And it's so funny because all the things that are in the book, they create the storyline and they show those decisions behind every little thing we do. Like, for example, this idea that decisions in our private life so much determine our career as well as women, that you make space for the business, not only, you know, be this victim of motherhood, right? But then also it extended to the process of publishing the book, that I had this safe space for, you know, doing the crowdfunding campaign, making it epic, making the design epic, having my, you know, touch on every single detail because it takes time. And then also the moment where the book was published and we celebrated, and also the kids were there, and like my husband was there, and they were part of the book, but also they were part of the publishing process. But also now when I'm, you know, sending the book to the people, and it's so symbolic because I still pack the book myself, you know, I put some gifts there, and yeah, I'm this handmade person, so I made it like really clear. It can be really expensive, but I need to do it on my own. And it's also that my daughter puts this package to the courier, right? Or my husband puts it into this, you know, boxing machine that sends the book. So to me, the story is about the book being a story, and that's one thing, but also the process of publishing the book and the experience of, you know, being an author of a book is also another story. So I'm kind of, that's why I'm telling that, like, the second part, this English part, is going to be probably the story of writing a book as well as how it's like lives later on. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for your great insights. So just one question at the end. Yes. Do you have any special advice for other handmade lovers and experts who are thinking about writing a book?
I would say just write it. To me, working with an expert that will help you to facilitate the process was a key. And I know, Stefania, that you do that, right? I worked with Polish speaking coach. You work internationally in various languages like German and English, right? And I know how much key that was for me. It was not about the fact that somebody writes book for you, but provides you with such a beautiful tool set that the process of writing is really easy. Like all the theory about the hero's journey and all of that, I know that you work with various tools, but I remember that just having a person that keeps me accountable through that process doesn't allow me to chicken out. Because if you want to, like, if you listen to that and you want to write a book, you probably know what you want to write about. You have this book sitting in your heart. But having a person, Svenja, like what you do, having a person that facilitates the process and keeps you like by your hand, not for you to chicken out along the way, that's so key to make it happen. You never want to be this author that started writing the book. You want to be the author that finished the book and published it.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Svenja. It's always like talking about it. That's better than coffee to, you know, energize the day. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So amazing. Thanks a lot, and see you in, yeah, see you again. How do you say soon? Yes.
Yeah, I cannot wait. You know, Sigrun's going to be doing another launch. That's why how we met at Sigrun's community. And it's so cool to, you know, hang around. I guess this online gives us so many possibilities that I'm really, you know, so glad that I have many people like just dreaming about writing a book, and I'm like, come on, I know so many people, like, go to Svenja, you just do it. Don't think about it, just do it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Svenja.
Bye.